Championship Series qualifying tournament number 1. This is the second day where we go through the losers bracket, and right now we have Kaizen versus New Team.
Yep, we should be getting into the picks and bans, and we've got two bans coming out so far. It looks like, I believe that's Kaizen on the left side. They have banned out. Team has gotten rid of Rook after we saw Nuja play a phenomenal Rook in the last series.
Yeah, he played that extremely well, so I can definitely see why it's banned out. However, that means no tanks have been banned out, so we're going to see possibly all three of them, especially since Kaizen has already picked up Bastion and Bow. So Claudessa's the only real tank pick left, and if New Team doesn't take that, then they're going to be running a substandard comp that revolves a lot around just, I guess, doing as much damage as possible without needing those tanks, or just going for something with an extreme amount of kite. But with Bastion and Bow, those are the two harder tanks to kite. It's not as hard to kite Claudessa, but Bastion and Bow, they both have dashes. Bow has a movement speed boost as well. So there are a lot of things that render them unkiteable, basically. So I think one of New Team's picks is definitely going to be Claudessa, but they also don't necessarily have to pick it now, because if Kaizen decides to pick up the third tank, if they decide to pick up Claudessa as well, they'll be missing out on a lot of damage. So I think they might be able to save it for their last pick, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Kaizen can't really take Claudessa. If they were to take Claudessa, they'd wind up with too much tankiness, because none of the tanks were banned out. So this sort of leaves that open to New Team to wait on it and pick pretty much everything else and then Claudessa. Now, say Kaizen picks Claudessa, then they've given up. Then they have to make really good use of an early game strategy or more of a mid-game strategy, where their tanks have hit a good level of tankiness, and their tanks were able to build most of their items out of power. If they're able to do that, then they run into a situation where they should be able to push through, but it's going to be difficult.
Yep, and looking at the comps as well, of the heroes still on the board, if the Claudessa pick were to come out from Kaizen, again, I don't think it's likely. The New Team could go with Vermilion, who has a pretty good amount of kite. Vex has got some good kite as well as utility. So there's still a good amount of things that New Team can do, even if Kaizen takes away Claudessa. But they might also pick it now with these next two picks as well. We don't quite know yet. In terms of what they did pick, Featherstone and Carter are their two picks. So very, very high damage so far. Both of these heroes have... Well, Carter can just poke someone down from long range. Take down a third of someone's health with just a couple of rockets. And Featherstone, once an all-in engage happens, if the enemy team is clumped up, he's going to have AoE auto-attack damage. That's pretty huge, and in any game, any sort of auto-attack that can do AoE damage is extremely strong. So that's something that you really need to watch out for there. So New Team's comp so far looking pretty good. They've gotten more of the high priority carries, whereas Kaizen decided to take Bastion and Bow.
Yeah, the other thing about New Team's composition is that's very strong late game. Carter gets to a point late game where he can fold to zero almost anyone, and Featherstone gets to a point late game where he just has insane amounts of control.
Yep, so we're waiting for these next two picks. Not entirely sure what they're going to be. I think we might be able to see Trixie, maybe? I think one of their picks might end up being Trixie. Another one is obviously going to be Claudessa. We don't know if they're going to pick that with these next two picks, or if they're going to save that as their last pick. Either one is possible.
Yep. So we are waiting on Imps to get back into the lobby. He had to disconnect and reconnect for a minute. So that may add a little bit of a delay there, and probably why they're stalling out their picks, as we don't actually have a pick timer on the system just yet.
Yeah, we're trying to think of ways that we could do that run smoothly and that is fair to everyone. So
Strife Drafter, please.
Yeah, fairness is one of the big points as to why we haven't implemented a timing system yet. New Kaizen, they've decided to go with Ray as their first pick. as their first non-tank pick. I mean, which is also good for taking that away from new team, because if new team has Featherstone, Carter, and Ray, they just have so much burst damage right there. They would probably end up being able to win a fight within the first couple seconds of the fight. So that's something that Kaizen not only takes for their team, but also takes away from new team. So that's a pretty strong pick there as well. In terms of what Kaizen, what their two last picks are going to be, one of them is going to be Verm. I don't really see too much else happening there because Featherstone's picked up, Rook is banned, and Harrower is also banned. So the only real hardcore AD damage that they can still do is Verm. Blazer can sort of do that, but already having two tanks, I think Vermilion is a more likely choice in that matter.
Yeah, we could also see. Oh no, they've already sort of got the Ray. I don't know whether or not new team is going to go with any more high damage characters. Well, we assume they'll pick up the Claudessa. Other options, they could go Lady Tinder. We did see that Nuja and Ruckus liked play, or not Ruckus. We've seen Nuja and
Yeah, that was Ruckus.
Curry Boy play. No, yeah, it was Ruckus, but Ruckus is on the other team. We've seen Curry
right.
Boy play
Curry Boy
a
was
pretty
on
good Tinder
Trixie
before.
as well.
Yes, he was playing Trixie, but we've seen him play Tinder before pretty well. I think he probably will go with Trixie, add to the poke composition with Carter, and then beyond that, maybe a Vex as the other support if they don't, or maybe they go as Vex support, Claudessa, and Trixie. Might not be a bad combination. Trying to think of what else they can go, because the fact that the tanks weren't banned has changed a lot of how these compositions would be built.
Yeah. Did you say one of them disconnected from the drafters? That way we have a long way
I
on these picks.
believe so. They're currently discussing with the admins, so I will check in with the admins momentarily.
Okay, so updates on the rest of the bracket. Team Eshrecht have beaten Derp, so they're going to go on to the next match, which they're going to play against Sent from Heaven. So Sent from Heaven versus Eshrecht on the other side of the losers bracket. And the winner of that will face Papa Please for their qualifying spot. And I can actually just pull up the brackets right now so we can talk about them a little bit. As you can see, we're playing the bottom half of the brackets right down here. And if you follow the very bottom, we saw Crimson Blade win a bunch of games. And now they were up against New Team. That part hasn't been updated yet, but New Team has beaten Crimson Blade. So now they're up against Team Kaizen. The winner of this will play against Senpai Please Notice Me, and the winner of this game that's highlighted right now is going to be getting one of the two qualifying spots that are left for the first tournament. There is going to be another tournament next week for the qualifiers, and that is going to have the other four qualifying spots. If we look up at the top side of the losers bracket, we can see that we have Team Derp going through the bottom half over here, and NS and Winlane Lose Game going through the top, but they ended up falling to Sent from Heaven. Sent from Heaven moves on over here. Meanwhile, Team Derp goes down here. Eshrecht got knocked out in one of their later rounds, so they went up against Team Derp here. They won. You don't see that result yet, but they're going to be facing Sent from Heaven up here. The winner of this will face Papa Please in a best of three, and Senpai Please Notice Me, that game versus the winner of the game we're seeing right now is also going to be a best of three, and then the winner of that game will qualify for the Strife Championship Series.
All right, so a substitution has been made. IM's internet is having some serious issues, so they've had to make that substitution momentarily. Now that we do actually have some new picks, it was the Vex, but they went with Blazer for a third damage source on the side of New Team.
Yeah, really, really high damage there. And Blazer's also got a decent amount of poke as well, so if New Team can lock people down, whoever gets locked down is basically destroyed, right? If Blazer lands a tether, Carter lands the rest of his everything, and Blazer fires one shot, maybe two, and that's going to be a dead whoever it is. So that's a really strong combination they have right there. On the other hand, they also have some good control, picking Vex. Vex is good utility, good control, especially good global map control as well. So that's going to be something that new team looks at. On top of that, so Vermilion and Caprice picked up by Kaizen, so they're going with some extra damage, going for Caprice instead of Malady, so that tells me that they're going to be wanting to play for team fights rather than picks, which having Bastion and Bow, you can sort of expect that, right? Bastion and Bow are really, really good team fighters. Bastion has a bunch of AoE shielding, and he's also got AoE damage. He can also initiate really well. Bow also has good initiate and AoE damage. Ray's got his AoE stun. Vermilion has AoE, like he can make his auto attack shoot through someone, sort of Twitch-esque, if you've played League of Legends. And there goes the last Cloudessa picked. No one really thinks that's a surprise. I hope not. So these are going to be the final comps for both of these teams. And if you had to give one team an advantage, who would you give that to?
Right now, probably to Kaizen, just based on team composition. They have really good AoE team fight control in Bastion and Bow and Ray. With those three, because of Ray's shock field, that gives you a lot of AoE disruption. It zones people out from an area of the fight. Whereas new team's composition is they kind of want to half fight you, and they kind of want to poke you with Carter, and then they want to make global and rotation plays with Vex and Blazer. And then they kind of want to team fight with Claudessa, so their composition's a little more over the place. Now, they win their lanes, every single one of them. If they are winning lanes, then they're allowed to rotate at will, they're allowed to gank at will, and they can push with Carter and Featherstone pretty well, and Vax. With those three having advantage, they can just sort of steamroll over Kaizen. They can't do that. Kaizen's teamfight potential is going to be way too strong. They're going to have too much AoE zone control, too much burst damage between Ray and Caprice. Like, I freaking hate Caprice. I hate playing against Caprice. Everyone's like, she's super high skill cap. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no. A gold player in most games can handle how to roughly play Caprice, and you put that in the hands of someone who's really good. You know, any of these professional players who are at this stage of the tournament, Caprice can do so much damage, output so much damage really, really quickly, and she can kind of roam and gank if played properly. You can just jump over wall, land full combo on Caprice, jump back over that wall. It's a pretty fast combination. If you're ahead, you can do a ton of damage there. So I think the lanes are going to be huge for new team. They have to get lane control. They don't do that, and it's going to get down to team fight. It's going to get down to team fight phases where they're not able to force as much split pushing onto Kaizen, and Kaizen's going to be like, we're going to steamroll you as 5 and just move up the lane, and that's going to allow them to, not care about the fact that new team has the Vex and the Blazer for roam and global potential.
Right, and as you said, new team is really going to be focusing around rotations, especially in the early to mid game. Vex really opens up a lot of opportunities in that respect. He can be anywhere on the map just using his ultimate, which is something that is pretty unique to him in this game. There's no other player or there's no other hero that can be anywhere on the map unless they build warp boots. So that's something that you really need to watch out for as well. We do have Rook who can fire a global ultimate, but that's not quite as much as suddenly forcing a 3v5, or a 5v3 rather, or say if it's laning phase, a 2v1 or a 3v1. So any way you slice it, Vex is a really strong pick just due to his kit.
Yep, so both teams should be loaded in soon. We're just waiting on Klein, who will be playing that Carter as well as Lincoln's on the Vex. So I wonder if the fact that they brought in that sub has significantly changed their composition decision. Maybe Lincoln's may have, changed what might have been their game plan. I'm assuming we're going to see Carter Claudessa top, Featherstone bottom, Blazer, and Vex mid.
I'd say Vex goes top, though.
No, it will be Vex and Carter mid, so I was halfway there.
Maybe. They're still trying to see what they can force in terms of level 1 shenanigans, since we see them all going down towards the bottom half of the map. But generally, what I think when I see Vex is, I feel like he usually goes top, considering that allows him to force 3v1s down in the bottom lane if the mid lane rotates as well. Whereas if he's mid, because the teleport can bring him to mid and bot, and one other thing you can do there is get the numbers advantage in terms of rotations, because if he's top, he can rotate mid or bot. If he's mid, he can rotate top or bot.
Ryzen.
But that
Ryzen's gonna get caught out. Down comes the tether shot. So much damage. Instant dragon reaching the full combo. Klein picks up first blood. Run, Illslick, run from those burrow bots.
Yeah, but that is an extremely powerful level 1 ability the tether is, and if you can land it, if you have enough follow-up from the rest of your team, that's almost an instant kill right there because it lasts for so long. And even if you use a mobility like a bounder, it'll still keep pulling you in. So that is huge, and we're seeing 5,000 GPM for Blazer. Woo! But that's only because it's early in the game, and we're seeing that level out quickly as time goes on. So
at 5k GPM.
5k GPM hype, but yeah, it's
I saw someone
definitely
on the Reddit
normalizing
was like,
now.
how did I get 5k GPM? First blood, apparently.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, after more time has been situated, they're going to be able to bring it back down to around 400, which is generally where it should be at this point. So Vex is actually going to go mid. Vex Carter, they've got so much pushing there, so that's something that they might have considered it as well when they try to take in consideration where they should send all their lanes.
Yep, so we've got the Vermilion and Bastion combo up in top lane. Pretty good, that's a lot, that's, strong CC engagement, but Ryzen said, yo, you're going to pay for that first blood, and absolutely destroys Illslick with what I assume was the level 2 combo. Yeah, Illslick is still level 1. Ryzen hit level 2 first and laid in the herd.
Yep, and he started out with 2 mana regen, mana shards, I believe. Not entirely, they are shards, right? I gotta check this. Clarity shards. Yeah, they're shards.
Yeah, there we go.
So he started with 2 clarity shards, and that's going to give him a decent amount of mana regen so that he can keep spamming out his burrow bots to push the waves.
Yeah, no, that's one of the nice things. Ooh, in the middle lane, Lincoln's is laying in some hurt onto R&R. That was a really good play there. I only caught the tail end of it, but some nice snipes out of Klein, and Lincoln's picked up the last hit there. Meanwhile, up on top lane, a lot of damage down onto HGN. He got bursted there by Nuja, and he's going to have to be careful about how much damage he takes from that Blazer.
Yeah, they really do. Blazer has a lot of early game control, and that combined with Claudessa, choking on the name right there, but Blazer and Claudessa make a really good lane because of the amount of lockdown they have, and Blazer still has a good amount of damage on top of that, so that's something that they really need to watch out for when they're facing the top lane. However, Dudley and HGN, they've got really good all-in as well.
Yep, Nuja gonna be able to stay healed up with that heal. Milan middle lane, Lincoln's taking a lot of damage, lays down a good shield. That'll help keep him alive, and Klein dishing out good damage. We haven't seen that many Carters in the event. I think this is probably only my second game seeing Carter. So, I'm curious to see how he does. We've seen some interesting Carter builds. I think it was known as a blue build, where it's very, very mana heavy, all about that spam. I'm curious if he'll go with that, or something a little bit more power. It does start with the gem as a first stage, so
Ryzen's still doing a really good job against Illslick down in the bottom lane. Illslick is just one burrow bot and a couple of auto attacks away from dying down there. So, Ryzen's starting off with an early bit of control here. That comes from the level advantage he got from getting that early kill. He's going to go for the stun field, and there goes Illslick. Very quick kill by Ryzen. Nice, basically good job trapping him in the stun field. He didn't need the damage or the stun from it. He just needed to keep him inside of it.
Yeah, Ryzen getting a lot of early push aggression. He's been able to kill him twice. That's already huge in lane when you're able to get solo kills, just because that gold doesn't really get transferred to the rest of the rest of the team. He's denying far by keeping it at tower. He is pushing the tower pretty quickly, so it looks like he's trying to accelerate the pace of the game. They don't want to let things get to late game, or Featherstone and Carter are going to get really, really dangerous. So that's probably where his aggressive plans are. Up in the top lane, HCN doing a little bit of damage to Curry Boy. He's not going to get tethered down there. Actually, a nice stun by Dudley onto Nuja under the tower. He's going to need to be careful how long he gets locked down, because there's pretty good CC out of HGN. Once he hits level 6, that's enough damage to be able to burst down Nuja, who is playing Blazer, and Blazer is pretty squishy.
Yeah, Blazer is pretty squishy, so he's mainly going to want to stay out of the initiation range from Dudley and HGN, because if he gets locked down, he's gonna go down pretty quickly. He does have fits, so it tells me that they do want to start roaming as soon as he hits level 6 and he has his invisibility, but a nice tether brings them back.
Yep, good tether down onto HGN. Dudley taking a lot of damage there. Curry Boy throws in the Dragon's Reach, tries to pick up a target. I think right now Nuja's just too low on mana for them to be making crazy aggressive plays. I think they need to wait for him to regen a little bit more. But the problem is Dudley, he's got a lot of regen right now on that Bastion. Actually goes forward, gets Nuja, a little bit more damage there. HGN trying to slow him down, and they don't manage to get off the Dragon's Reach. Curry Boy doesn't save him, and that's going to be HGN gaining control. And these, I did say they needed lane control on the side of a new team. Currently, Kaizen is taking that away from them.
Yeah, and that's what another thing that we said earlier was we talked about the squishiness of Blazer, and that's really something that, as we said, when Kaizen decides to all in, they're going to be able to kill Blazer as long as they can get him locked down. So that's something that happened right up there, and they were able to pick up a kill from it. If we look at the gold graphs, they're
Rotation
pretty
down
far
in
in
the bottom
favor.
lane. They really want to shut down Ryzen. They're going to get the slow and the rockets. Oh, the static field there was so good. And right now, Ryzen's gone with a full power build. Not as utility strong as if he had gone with the rocket boots to be able to make those heavy engagements. But right now, Ilslick can't handle the damage. The snipe comes out, doesn't manage to land. Lincoln's is still down here. I don't think they have the damage to hurt Ryzen. Ryzen is just so far ahead. He has that chalice and full power boots. So, yes, he's going to lack some of that late game potential, but if he keeps playing the way he is, it's not going to get to late game.
Yeah, but that's sort of what Ryzen and just Kaizen in general are banking on by going power boots on Ray, is that the game ends before late game arrives, because you really, really need rocket boots on Ray late game in order to make picks with your stun field, and if you don't get the stun field down with the rocket boots,
stun field
it's
goes
hard.
down onto Ilslick. In comes a Burrow bot, but he doesn't have the ultimate. Ilslick should be able to survive. Out of another Burrow bot, is it going to land? It's going to take him out. Ryzen is on a rampage. Meanwhile, up in top lane, rotation from R&R. In with Dudley, they're able to pick up the kill onto Nugen. New team is just being pressured in these lanes. They picked a composition that needed to win the lanes, needed to be able to push, and they just haven't been able to deliver. They got that early kill on Ryzen, and things have fallen apart since there.
Things are really, really indeed falling apart for a new team, and at this point, they're gonna want to start trying to pull as many rotations as possible, but Lincoln's might get caught out, anchor misses.
Takes a lot of damage there. R&R didn't manage to land that stun, which people say is hard. I think is pretty easy. I think people land it way more often than everybody gives them credit for. No, I think it's a really easy stun to land.
No, it's BM.
And most of the time, the only reason you don't land it is because somebody dodged out, so Lincoln's had a good dodge there. Tower's going to go down in bot lane. Ryzen is just continuing to beat onto Ilslick. A little bit more damage there. He doesn't have the mana for the Burrow bot just yet, and he's just landing auto attack after auto attack, and no, it was not BM. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Nuja is going to get brought down by Dudley. The teleport is coming in. Vex is actually going to cancel that, I believe. He wanted to make that play, but it wasn't really worth it. Nuja had already gone down. Kaizen is keeping control of these lanes. They were aggressed at all the right times. They got the burst, and just the fact that Ryzen is solo carrying things out of the bot lane, he's going to come in as a huge threat. 2 levels up on Ilslick right now. Ilslick doesn't have a finished item. Ryzen's got 3 small power shards, and he's just pushing for this early and mid-game potential. Klein is deciding to rotate and is just going to pick up the Vision Totem, and up in the top lane, Lincoln's has ulted in here, but the low health target is going to be able to get away. Can Dudley get away from Nuja? No, Nuja finally gets some revenge. Now Lincoln's is chasing HGN. Klein is here in the middle lane trying to keep the push off the tower, but HGN should be able to rotate in, join up with the rest of this team, and they may continue the push. Lincoln's comes in from the side, takes a lot of damage from HGN. Ryzen has rotated in here as well. He's going to be able to lay out huge amounts of damage. The last few minions should go down with Lincoln's as rockets, but they're going to bring down this tower. Good push by Kaizen. The shock field goes down, but doesn't manage to catch on to any targets. And I would be careful if I were new team. They have 2 members up here and 4 are rotating in from Kaizen. They could be going for this ball deer instead of the tower. No, it's going to be the global objective. They're going to pick this one up very, very quickly, and new team is going to be forced to back. They know they can't stay there and push that tower because 5 members from Ryzen are in the top side of the map.
Yeah, and one thing that I really need to mention is that Kaizen is looking on point with their early game. They've dominated all of their lanes. They're starting off with the rotations, and new team's comp really needs them to make rotations, and they just haven't been doing that.
Dash forward by Dudley, a lot of damage onto HGN. Can they pick him up? Nuja is very, very low. Claudessa will get that one, and now they're turning their attention onto Dudley. This is a good team fight for new team. Can they pick up that final kill? They won't be able to follow up onto that, and looks like, I believe, Bastion, no. Bastion picked up the kill? Who died? Oh, Blazer died. Nuja did fall, so he took too many tower shots, was brought down. Ryzen's being left to farm in the bottom lane. New team needs to be wary of that. They've lost that middle tower. They've rotated 3 people up here into the top lane to try and stop RNR and Dudley from defending this. If they can bring down the tower soon, it may make up some of the goal difference, but they need to make a play. They need to draw bodies right now, because if Ryzen just continues to free farm down in that bottom lane, he's going to be so scary. He's got a full power Crystalline Shiv, power boots, 3 completed items, and is making his way towards that tower. He could do what Harrower did in the last game. He could just do what Illslick did to Crimson Blade and just be this unstoppable pushing force.
He could very well. And, again, going power boots instead of rocket boots sort of means that he has to do that. He's forced into a position where late game he's not going to get the team fighting he wants.
Nuja gets ulted into the wall, is going to juke away from the Capri stun, is trying to get out of vision. Dudley is going to miss his stun, and that's going to be a little bit of a disengage. Curry Boy does get the knockback onto Dudley, but, again, they didn't lose every lane, per se, but they didn't win every lane they needed to. They totally lost bot lane as Illslick almost goes down there, is able to heal himself through. Ryzen took a lot of damage there, so although Ryzen hits hard, he's still pretty squishy. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, a full dive onto Curry Boy. He's going to be able to keep himself alive for a little bit. The nice poke coming out of Klein. Good long range shots. They are landing onto Dudley though, and that's not really the target they need. They've got Lincolns pushing in the middle lane, and they're just hoping they can hold out on some of these lanes for a little while. This top tower is going to go down. There's too many bodies here from Kaizen. They have the health bar to be able to push straight through and not worry about the damage. Ryzen is rotating into the middle lane. I think he's going for Lincolns, who is trying to bring down this middle lane tower. Lincolns realizes something is up. He saw the vision disappear and Ryzen got that. Ryzen is going to get down the freeze ray, brings in the static shield, but a nice cleanse shield away by Lincolns is going to help keep him alive. Can he get away from the Bother? The Bother is going to slow him down, and they finally may pick up the kill on the Ryzen. They do. That's going to be the shutdown from Klein. A phenomenal tether coming in from Nuja. That is a little bit of an overextension. They still have control Kaizen, but they need to worry about how Ryzen positions these plays.
Yeah, one thing Kaizen also has to worry about is basically what killed them yesterday. What sent them down to the losers bracket in their game against Papa Please was just one late game team fight, one late game call. They lost to Sandara, and on top of that, Papa Please was just able to push for the win directly afterwards. So that's something that is probably in Kaizen's minds, and they really want to shut this game out before they hit the late game again.
Ooh, Kaizen needs to be really careful. Curry Boy gets a nice Dragon's Reach onto the backline. Meanwhile, in the middle of the fight, Nuja taking a ton of damage from Dudley, but he has the numbers. He's got the backup. That's going to be Montekias and Dudley going down. Now Curry Boy looking for another target. Carter has picked up the double kill. He got the shot onto the Vermilion. HGN went down, and now they should be able to pick up the Baldir. That's a huge team fight turnaround. The Vex picks up the double kill, and this is exactly what we were saying. Kaizen can't throw the team fights. They need to coordinate things better, and as the moment we say it, it happens. RNR actually maybe about to be dived. The tether comes over the wall. It doesn't land on anything. Klein throws out 2 rockets. They don't connect, but they should have the bodies here to be able to bring down this tower. They've got 4 members in the top lane. They've got Lincoln's again split pushing. That's the best thing he can do right now for the team. And now new team has the advantage back. They've managed to close the gap on the power bonus that Ryzen was able to create for his team. They need to be careful about how many members they leave here. Klein is going to back the rotating Dudley and Mantikias into this top lane. Can they get down a Bow stun? Bo is going to speed himself up. He's going to be able to dodge out from the Dragon's Reach, and Illslick may be caught out. He's going to get stunned again. The heal isn't going to be enough. That's going to be him going down. RNR picks up that kill. Nuja is here from the side, lands the tether onto Montekias, but that is not going to be enough. And although Ryzen is back down in the bot, one of the best things he can do for his team right now, Lincolns should pick up this middle tower.
And it looks like Kaizen is going to be responding to that middle tower with their own top lane push. And Nuja is also down here in the mid lane. He's going to help take this tower. Ryzen's going to see what he can do about it, but with no rocket boots, he has no escape, and he's going to get snared out.
Phenomenal stun. Ryzen should be able to walk away from this, but that was a 2v1. They still need to be careful of how much power Ryzen's got. Meanwhile, at the top lane, Kaizen 4-man pushing down this tower. They should be able to get this for free, but in comes the ultimate from Lincoln. He doesn't have that much mana. He's going to get burned down. One more auto attack. HGN is going to pick up that kill. Now Klein trying to jump down onto HGN. Dudley goes in the middle of the team, pops an Everwinter Charm, gets the stun. Phenomenal stun combination out of Bo. He lands the ultimate. He lands the Bow throw, pops his Everwinter Charm. That is so much damage. Illslick has now been caught out. They thought they had that, but Kaizen turned it on them. And meanwhile, in the middle lane, Ray is now pushing up. That was a huge rotation out from new team, and now they're going to lose at least 1 turret, if not 2.
Oh man, one of the things I really wanted to see different about that fight from New Team was as soon as Vex decided to ultimate into the fight, as soon as he popped that, New Team should have just turned on the pressure, but instead they were still sitting under towers. So Lincoln's was alone when he got in the teleport, and he just got bursted down with nothing really returning for New Team. They weren't able to get a pick off of that. Lincoln's just went down for completely free, and that just snowballed the rest of the fight. And again, great roam by Mantequillas, just getting a two-man stun into the wall on two squishy heroes from New Team. That was an amazing play.
Yeah, what was a huge turnaround, bringing the gold lead into about 1,000, the gold gap to about 1,000. Kaizen has been able to turn that back around. They've now pushed it up to about 7,000 or so. I'd say probably about 6.5, as the scrap is not the most accurate thing. I'd like a slightly cleaner one, S2, but thank you for having a spec mode super early in your game's development.
Yeah, that's something that is...
Ooh, HGN and Dudley, they're looking for a target. They want Nuja. They're going to get Nuja. They're going to go in with the Everwinter Charm. There's the stun. Nuja may be able to get something here. Nope. HGN was able to lay in the damage, picks up the kill, and meanwhile Kaizen with a good team rotation picks up the ball deer. That's a pick and a kill. Now the tower does go down in favor of New Team, but they need to be careful. There's a huge collapse coming in here. Mantequillas is charging forward. Can't he find a target? It's going to be the dash in onto Ling as R&R lands that nice stun. In comes the shock deal, but Ryzen needs to be careful how much damage he's taking. As Klein is coming from the side, one more shot. He's going to pick up that kill. Illslick is actually going to be the one to finish the job, and they need to be careful about how much they give to Illslick. He's got that dampening cloak, the axe, and the fell blade, so not huge items yet, but they can't let him get to that late game potential.
Yeah, they really can't. And at this point, I have to say Kaizen's mid game is on point. This is a great change that we saw from yesterday. Still that one Baldir fight that they gave up, and I think that might still be lingering in the minds of Kaizen, but at this point, they really want to try to force the game down as soon as possible, and it looks like they might be going for some sort of bait onto the Sendara. Observer Tower gets taken away by New Team. Dragons reach into the bush that people normally stay in when they want to bushwhack Sendara, but not finding anything. So at this point, Kaizen is trying to confuse New Team. Where are they? And here they are. Mantequillas goes in for it.
Mantequillas goes to Illslick, Curry Boy in the backside of the fight, but that's not going to be able to result in too much. He doesn't have too much damage. Illslick getting jumped on by the two tanks. Klein is here. Illslick is still alive. He's draining a lot of power away from the Mantequillas. He's able to jump out of the side of the fight. Klein is coming. Klein has ulted one of the targets. Illslick comes in from the side, but he gets brought down, and just unfortunate coordination there for New Team. They didn't have the right targets, and the fact that Illslick was being beat on by the tanks was huge. Out comes some snipes, but it's gonna be R&R trying to bring down Klein. Klein dashes away. He's gonna do what he can to snipe them down and keep one of the targets busy. R&R and Klein in the duel, one more basic attack, and he's gonna go down. He actually jukes away from it. The snipe comes out of Klein, but it doesn't land. Those rockets are super long range, but really small hitboxes, and Dudley needs to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage here from Sundara. He might actually go down for this. Dashes forward, Everwinter Charm, the damage is there, and Kaizen picks up this Sindara, bringing their gold lead to a little below 9,000.
Credit to Kaizen there. What they did really well in that team fight, which was part of the reason why they got the initiation that they really wanted. It was a dream initiation by Mantequillas, is that they basically played the confusion game. They played a mind game. We saw New Team over here near the observer ward, and they saw Kaizen moving back towards this direction. They thought the entire team was in this bush, but as soon as the Dragon's Reach went out, they saw nothing. There was no more information there, and Kaizen just kept retreating. We had a couple people over here, There was one pushing bot right here. So New Team basically just walked into a trap, and they were really confused. They had no idea exactly where Kaizen was, and it really allowed Kaizen to get that team fight down in their favor. So it's a great play by them.
I got to give it to Mantequillas. He's had some insanely well-coordinated ults, good rotations around the side. To flank the enemy team. He's always picked at least 2 targets. Granted, in that one, his ultimate was pretty much focused on Illslick, but, let's be honest, the Featherstone is what you need to be bringing down. He also dashed out of that fight. I thought he died. I called his death in the middle of that fight, and that didn't happen. Kratos is here in the mid lane. That's going to disable the tower. Dudley diving in the backside. Again, Mantequillas with a 4-man ultimate pulls everybody back. Illslick is burned. Double kill for Caprice. Curry Boy is taking so much damage. Their Klein was on the back end of the fight. He wasn't there to do anything. That is huge. And now they have 5 members at full health. They've got Kratos. He's going to disable the generator. That's going to be a free generator for Kaizen. Here at 19 minutes, they've been able to break the base and have a huge advantage advantage. A lot of this spiraling off of Ryzen's control of the early game.
13 seconds on the death timers is not enough for Kaizen to continue the push. They're not going to go for the end of the game, but at the same time, both we do have Baldir up. Sindar is not up. The top thing lies. It says ready, but it's certainly not ready. So Baldir is up. They're going to rotate towards that right now. New team know about this. They look like they might be trying to force their own rotation and try to catch them out, but Baldir is going down far too quickly, and they're not really going to be able to make anything out of that. Curry Boy looking for a Dragon's Reach somewhere, does not quite get it. That's not going to be an initiation for new team, and now Kaizen is going to start resetting exactly what they want. They're going to start pushing out all the lanes, and we already see that in the bot lane. Aranar and Ryzen going to start making this lane push. They're not pushing it themselves.
Onto HGN. The Dragon's Rage is there. They don't actually get the stun off, and that's going to be huge damage onto Nuja. Nuja needs to back up the Everwinter Charm from Dudley. Almost helped him. They are going to pick up that kill. No. Oh, nice Dragon's Reach. They need a little bit more damage there. Mantikis is around the side, but he doesn't have the follow-up from the Caprice and the Ray. They're leaving Carter down in the bottom lane. That's a good pick and tower by new team. They had a lot of members on that, got a lot of good gold for it, and now Klein and Lincoln's are there. Lincoln's, I believe, just ulted in. No, he just rotated down, used his teleport boots, and was able to back him up. So, you know, a glimmer of hope there for new team. They just dropped the gold lead by probably about 1,000 or so, but it's still 14 or a little over 14k in favor of Kaizen. That play in the middle lane was phenomenal, and again, Mantikis is right now my MVP. Ryzen set them up, but Mantikis is what's keeping them, you know, going. What is really setting them up to like finish every single one of these fights.
Yeah, and right now they're looking for another one of those confusion picks. Ryzen going in with stealth. Oh, Kleins needs to watch out.
Ooh, Lincoln's is actually may get away here scot-free. Nope, too much damage.
Wow.
I spoke too soon.
Yeah. Suddenly over the wall, you have a Caprice coming in, and at that point the stun lands.
Caprice
and
over the wall. Didn't I
so
say
much
something
burst.
about Caprices going over walls? I mentioned this once or twice. A lot of damage there down onto Ryzen. Klein gets some nice snipes off in the backside. The shock field goes down, doesn't connect onto anyone. But they have a lot of poke here. It's going to be R&R taking some damage. Really good wave clear there by new team. They were able to bring down that minion wave very, very fast. They need to be careful though. Snipe or rockets hit onto HGN's. A few more long range shots are going to force them to back off. Ilslick is back up. He has his ultimate and his teleport boots. So that will, that'll allow him to rotate in for another fight. Sindara will be back up in, I want to say 30 seconds with what the timer looks like. So that may be new team's chance. We've seen them pick a really good team fight. If they're if they're not scrambling, their team fight is very good, especially if they can fight in a line or a corridor. When they're scrambling, Kaizen picks them apart. Kaizen has so much AoE control that they barely even need to focus more than one target. You know, they can just focus one guy and everybody else just can't get to him.
Right, and that's sort of what their comp is looking to do. At this point, Kaizen looks like they want to start ending the game through different ends of the map. We have 3 people pushing bot. Caprice went to go start a slow push mid, or slow push top, and that's what this lane is going to doing. It's going to start slow pushing towards the new team tower. And now we have a little bit of a setup from Kaizen. It looks like they're ready to take Sindara as soon as it comes up. New team, are they just going to trade? I think they might just trade Baldir for Sindara. Which
no. But Kaizen, they're feeling it right now. They backed off the Sindara because they wanted to fight. They wanted to fight.
I think forcing the Sindara would be.
They don't even need to. They can just wait for this to start. The aggro comes out from Baldir, and they can wait for new team because they're clearly ahead. Dudley going forward, wants to get the soul onto Ilslick. Down comes the static field. That's so much damage. Although Ryzen gets hit with the Dragon's Reach. Is he going to go down? Curry Boy, can he finish that? They do bring down Ryzen. That could be huge for them. A lot of damage there. Lincoln's comes in from the side. Can they bring down any other targets? Mantikis doesn't manage to get off his ultimate combo. He only hits Klein. And there was a really great snare out of Nuja. This was a really good fight for new team. They're able to get Dudley under the tower. He goes way too deep. Now HGN, he wants it. He is able to pick up Lincoln's, but Nuja is there as well. Does a little bit of damage. That might have been over-aggressive by Kaizen.
A little bit over-aggressive right there, but they are still in control. That fight would have ended out so much better for new team if Kaizen wasn't already so far ahead. If we look at the gold graphs again, about 18,000 in favor of Kaizen. So if the gold graph was a little bit closer, if the item advantage was a little bit less for Kaizen, then they would have definitely been able to basically make that happen.
Well, it looks like new team. I don't know. I thought they were rotating for a rush Sindara. You know, they may have had the damage, but that would have been really risky. HGN just picked up the Vision Totem. That's gonna let them see where things are. Now, again, if you look at a lot of these items, pretty much everybody's. They do have the double tank, but even those double tanks have built a lot of power. Now they do have the Hexbane onto Dudley. That's going to be really helpful. Ryzen stealth up, is going to dash forward. He's picked up those rocket boots. Now that we're towards the late game, Nugent is gone. Mantiqueus picks him up with the damage off the Everwinter Tribe. Slow down onto Curry Boy. He's going to need to be careful about how he engages this. Mantiqueus has been able to circumvent all of his zoning and make the plays necessary. Caprice is rotating in 28 seconds on Nuja. And yes, Ray has swapped out for those rocket boots. So Ryzen has learned from the mistake they had in that last game. They are going to pick onto Mantiqueus, doing a little bit of damage, but the rest of the team is there. They're going to do so much damage to Ilslik. He's going to get brought in by Mantiqueus. A nice stun combination down from Ray. Ilslik gets brought down by R&R after Ryzen sets up that one. This is probably going to be Sindara. The totem goes down for Bo. I don't know what they can do about this. Yes, Carter can do Carter things and do a crap ton of burst damage if they could hit a single target that mattered. R&R takes some damage there, but he doesn't really care. He only gets hit by one of the shots. They can't get to HGN, who's actually tanking out Sindara, but that is going to fall. The gold lead extends for Kaizen.
It extends. It looks like it's over 20k. I was about to say 200, and that would have been pretty ridiculous for a game of Strife. But 20k gold ahead. We've seen games that have been comebacks, like just barely comebacks, when it's this sort of gold lead. But Kaizen is an experienced team. They can probably do a really good job of ending the game and closing it out. So it looks like they're going to send Krytos towards the bot lane. Makes sense because there's still a generator up in the bottom lane where there is no generator up in the mid lane. So one thing that I want to see from Kaizen is just them grouping up to finish the push onto with Krytos. As long as they stay together, as long as they keep it grouped, they're going to be able to win the game. If they split up too much and new team gets a pick on one or two of their players, then things can start getting weird. Then new team might be able to win the team fight after that. So Kaizen needs to play a little bit of a careful game right now. We see up in the top lane, Lincoln's on Vex is pushing up there. He still has his ultimate up, so he can join the fight whenever he wants. Tether misses, and so does the stun field from Ray, so nothing's quite happening there, but as soon as the Krytos gets here, that's going to be when all the fights start.
Yep, a lot of damage there went down into R&R. They almost had the snare onto him. One thing to keep in mind is Kaizen, they are all in on this play. They've put so much power in. That is a full